What's going on, my people, and welcome back to Rock's Movie Reviews. It's been a while, and I'm excited to get back to you guys. I missed you. Thank you for your patience, and I'm back, man. And we're going to be starting off with a movie that I just recently saw, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. And once again, I'm going to start this review and end it without spoiling it. I want you to actually go see this movie in the theaters. With that being said, this movie was very, very relatable in many ways because it takes on the John Wick style kind of movie, right? This is Monkey Man, starring Dev Patel, who not only is the action star, but he's actually the director of this film as well. This movie was gonna go straight to pretty much Netflix during the pandemic. This movie was filmed about maybe 2 years ago. And Jordan Peele came out of left field, saw the movie, and said, no, this needs a theatrical release, and bought the rights with his company, Monkey Paw. And Lord and behold, man, we get this movie in a theater, and that's definitely where it should have been. It would have been a waste to see this at home on your TV for the first time. This movie definitely takes you to that level. If you would have told me 2 years ago that Dev Patel, the star of Lion, Slumdog Millionaire, will play India's basically answer to John Wick, I would have been like, you bugging. He's not that kind of actor. But he definitely, you can tell, trained a whole lot for this movie. There's a lot of things that happened during the filming. 2 years ago, he, basically got hurt, messed up his ankle, I think broke a finger. Someone died on set, I think due to sickness. And a lot of things definitely transpired. But we're happy that we definitely get to see this on the big screen. I would have thought you were crazy if you told me that Patel would have started this, and not only started it, but killed it, which he does. In which the actor, to me, directed himself in such a way where you could tell he was determined to take this role serious. In the film, he takes revenge on people who murdered his mother and basically stole their land. That's another thing that I liked about the film. The film definitely features a lot of brutal action, a lot of gunplay, a lot of gung fu, all right? But what was really enjoyable for me was it had a lot of social commentary, to elevate this above the ordinary story, which, I really enjoyed. The film's director, obviously, I just told you, right, Dev Patel, kudos to him in his debut film. This was, I think, right down his ballpark, man. With the storytelling, surprised with the action, but he definitely showed up here. To watch bona fide movies like this with a bona fide star like him, take himself out his comfort zone and do action, I was like, wow, this boy has chops. And here he plays Monkey Man, an underground street fighter, just striving to make a living in the slums of India, but with a burning desire for vengeance. As the film progresses, we're slowly introduced to both the targets of his vengeance and the reasons why he's pretty much crippled by it. You've seen all this before in 100 films, but not like this. This type had enough style and substance to it to basically stand out from the rest of the films you've seen. The fight scenes were amazing. The choreographer originally was supposed to be John Wick's choreographer, but, due to the pandemic, they lost him. They even lost a lot of the scouting sites that they were supposed to get, but you don't really notice it in the film, especially as the film progresses to our protagonist. It improves. They're very together. The protagonist and antagonist are very dynamic and kinetic. The camera, for some reason, never stops moving, but there's enough quiet, enough still, thoughtful moments here to raise the film above that usual chafe, but here there's enough going on. The flashback scenes are filled with warmth and beauty. They show a real eye, as Dev Patel definitely shows as a director. The film uses music exceptionally. I'm talking about exceptionally. There's scenes where you're like, wow, that was the perfect music for whatever was going on in that scene. And the music in the film with certain scenes, it adds that gravitas and that levity to scenes where it's needed. With influence from, you have a lot of influences in this film, man. I saw Western China, obviously Indian cinema, 90s East action flicks. And I was a big, Asian flick guy back in the day. This film has enough pace and action for the fight movie fans, but also enough of a story and heart for the general moviegoer. You're definitely going to be rooting for this guy. You'll be rooting for, Monkey Man to get his vengeance throughout the film. Like I told you before, the film definitely does have plenty of brutal action, and it makes it rather difficult to follow the action because of the way they use the camera. There's a lot of shaky camera here. But Monkey Man also suffers from erratic pacing. Sometimes it gets a little slow in the action. Then they go on maybe for too long sometimes. If I think Dev Patel had the confidence to shoot his fight scenes in a less chaotic manner and kept the pace more consistent, I think the film would have been a little better for it. But that's just a gripe. With that being said, I didn't dislike this movie at all. I thought the movie was awesome. Patel does well in his role, obviously avenging Angel, his mother, and the level of violence to me was impressive for what he did in this film. I definitely had far more fun with Monkey Man than either of the other two big screen releases I've seen recently, which was Ghostbusters, which I'm not going to do a review for, and Godzilla versus Kong. Both to me were hugely disappointing, but this movie definitely stood out. Revenge movies being incredibly great, or sometimes they can be incredibly forgetful, and it boils down to two factors: the quality of the action with the choreography and the original fight scenes, and the ratio of the backstory and the reasoning for the things going on in the film. And this was a successful revenge movie, man. This is up there to me with the likes of The Crow. I'm not gonna get ahead of myself and say it rivals that, but it was up there with it. A successful revenge movie understands that pacing is the sharpest blade, and that's what this film lacks a little bit of. There may be a little bit of setbacks, but they don't look or set back the movie at all. The movie definitely inches forward. Monkey Man has elements of what it needs to achieve that John Wick level of action, but it goes in different directions at times. They choose this long form of storytelling, which sometimes drags a little bit for me. But the whole first act drags, which it didn't need to. But I think the duration of the film was about 2 hours, and it basically consists of a lot of backstory. His reasoning for revenge. I like that it's kind of a political movie as well. He definitely speaks a lot about India and its corruption, and never been to India, so I don't know if that's something that he actually experienced. But it's extremely difficult to get into it in the beginning of the film, because to me that was about 65% of the movie was the beginning and the way they forms everything out. But you're gonna enjoy this for the most part. I gave this movie a solid 7.5, and for me it was primarily for one reason: the direction they take it in when it comes to being a little too slow with the pacing, and the shaky camera work to me took me out of a lot of great action scenes that could have been awesome. Sometimes it's this orientating, with pans and whips, and he clearly wanted this vibrant approach, but it wasn't executed to the top notch in which they could have did it. But it looked amazing. It did look amazing. So you should definitely go check out this film. It's going to remind you a lot of John Wick, but a lot of these action films that are coming out now are kind of John Wickish. But Dev Patel, kudos to him for his first work as a director. This movie was awesome. Go check it out. Let me know what you're thinking of this movie in your comments when you go see it. Get back at me. To the next one. Deuces.